Hello everyone and welcome back. Round 12 of FIDE Candidates 2024. I'm here with you, Grandmaster Nitzan Steinberg. And what can we say today? What can we say? It's only 3 rounds left until we will got the World Championship Challenger to Grandmaster Dingley Ren. So who will be? Yanni Pomnici, Fabiano Caruana, Hikaru Nakamura, or maybe Gukesh? Who knows? So, in this video you can see in the background we have Intel logo. Why Intel? Why I'm connecting with Intel? So I will tell you. When I was in the kindergarten, when I was 4 years old, I was in Intel kindergarten. My mom already working 25 years in Intel, and also I am working as a student in the economics in Intel. So this is my work today, and yeah, that's one fact on me on this video. So I hope you got it and you will remember Intel is the best. So let's start today with round 12. Yanni Pomnici with white pieces against Pragananda. Let's see it. E4, E6, the French opening by Prague. You remember he played this French opening also against Fabiano Caruana in this tournament. So French defense, E4, E6, D4, D5, and E takes D5. It seems that Yanni Pomnici decided to play with white pieces, very, very solid, without any troubles, a lot of tactics during the opening. Want to be calm, draw. It's also a good result for him because Yanni Pomnici is one of the leaders of this tournament. So E takes D5, E takes D5, Knight F3, Knight C6 was played by Prague, Knight C3, Knight G7. Of course, also Knight F6 or Bishop B4 seems for me logical, and Black should do a lot of fun here. It's equal position and just playing chess. Knight G7 played after 2 minutes of thought by Prague. A3, Bishop F5, Bishop E3, Queen D7. Black just wants to castle, to go for a long castle. Bishop E2, Knight G6 was played. Also Bishop E7, and just to develop pieces. H4 was played. Of course, after Bishop E7, H5, it's really annoying. After Knight F8, H6, and this pawn will be very strong here. And yeah, it's of course very terrible for Black. So he played the best move here, H5. A lot of sense here, of course. Knight D2 was played by Yanni Pomnici. I thought to play just Queen D2 with castling. For example, Queen D2, long castle, Bishop E7, maybe G3. It seems like an equal position here. Rook He1. Maybe just to replace all the pieces in the E file, and it should be a draw. But a lot of pieces here until now in the position. So yeah. But he played the move Knight D2. I think the idea is just to press on H5 pawn, also to play Knight B3, Queen D2, castle long, maybe Knight C5 in the next moves. So yeah, Bishop G4 was played. I think also Bishop E7 makes a lot of sense, just to develop piece, also attacking this pawn. Of course, Bishop H5 will follow by Knight takes H4, and this is already this is already a problem for white. This pawn on G2 is hanging. G6 will come. Here there are troubles here with the white pieces. So after Bishop E7, probably G3 is the best move, and after this Bishop G4. But Prague decided to play Bishop G4 immediately, because after Bishop takes G4, for example, H takes G4 and G3, now just castle long, and the Bishop on E7, not sure to be played on E7, maybe on D6 in the next move, because on D5 will not be fold because of Bishop takes G3. So maybe Bishop G4 it's a little bit more accurate in this position. So Knight B3 was played, Bishop E7, G3, takes, long castle. It seems like a very drawish position. Queen F5, Knight A4, Knight f8, because this knight on g6 is not working. He wants to bring it to the best place that this knight can help. Knight f8, rook d3, queen g4. Just wants to exchange some queens, because for example, after knight e6, I think rook c3, this is the threat. Rook takes c6, queen a6, knight a5, and the king on c8 will not feel so comfortable. So queen g4 was played, and just wants to remove this queen from e2. For example, queen f1 must be one move to consider. I thought in this position some very interesting move. Knight e5, I thought. I'm not sure it's working, but maybe takes. Yeah, maybe queen g2 and rook will come here. But it's one interesting move to play. Also knight e6, and after rook c3, now the d4 pawn will fall. Just knight takes d4. So this queen is also helping to attack, of course, the d4 square. But after queen g4, just played queen d2. White didn't want to exchange queens. Now b6 was played, just not allowed to play knight a5. After 1 minute, knight c3, coming back because the knight on a4 is not working. Knight e6, queen e2. Yanni Pomnish is understanding that, okay, I have nothing here, and let's make a draw. Queen takes e2, knight e2. Of course, black, it's a little bit better in this position, because this bishop is stronger than this big pawn, right? But it's so tiny advantage here that of course this should be a draw. So bishop d6, bishop d2, a5 was played, a4, knight is coming, rook f3, f6, bishop f4, because white just wants to exchange this bad bishop. This bad bishop, this bad bishop against this, or this good knight on e6, or this good bishop on d6. So bishop f4 makes sense for me. Knight f5, c3, takes, and a lot of exchanges here, but nothing to worry. Of course, not for Yanni Pomnish, and also not for Prague. They are playing some moves, but nothing to be worried, and all these pawns were exchanged, and the position is draw, and they agreed to a draw after 55 moves. So Yanni Pomnish with the white pieces drew, Prague drew easily this game against Jan, and Jan is very close to take the third time in his life the FIDE candidates 2024. Yanni Pomnish with 7.5 points out of 12. So yeah, he is one of the leaders of this tournament. Let's go to the second game. We had so much interesting games in this round. Let's see Hikaru Nakamura against Alireza Firouzja. e4, e6. What is going on? We have so much French openings in this round, of course. Let's see, d4, d5, e takes d5. Hikaru Nakamura, like Yanni Pomnish, maybe he took a slightly glance to Yanni Pomnish board, and okay, I will play like you, Jan. E takes d5, knight f3, bishop d6. Of course, Prague played the move knight c6, as you will remember, one game before. Bishop d6, c4, knight f6, c5, bishop e7, queen a4 check. I think this move should be a surprise for Firouzja, also for me. It's a little bit surprise, because I think the main line here to play bishop d3. Black is playing b6 immediately, or maybe castle before, I'm not sure. Takes, castle, for example, h3, c5, knight c3, knight c6, rook e1. I also played such positions with the white pieces, so it's interesting. But queen a4, very interesting move by Hikaru. Let's see what is planned. So bishop d7 and queen c2. You can see that after queen a4, Firouzja thought like 5 minutes in this position. I played the move bishop d7, queen c2, castle, and bishop e3. So yeah, it's very surprising to see such moves. Queen a4, queen c2, bishop e3. I assume to see here bishop d3, and after rook e8, of course, castle. But bishop e3 was played. Maybe white wants to castle long side. Let's see. Knight c6, knight c3, b6, bishop e2. Not on d3, on b2, on e2. Knight b4. Of course, bishop d3. The point is just knight b4 and exchanging this bishop, strong bishop against this fine knight, right? Also b takes c5. Yeah, it's bad. So bishop e2, knight b4 is playing, of course, threatening the queen on c2, queen d2, and bishop f5. Knight wants to bring himself to c2. Rook c1, defending, of course. You remember what we said? Every game, every move that our opponent is playing some move, we need to think, we need to find what is his threat, right? And after we understand what our opponent wants to do, we are avoiding this. We're thinking, how can we just avoid? How can we do some good move that will do the prophylactic, right? We already learned about this sentence, prophylactic. And of course, we will have a good initiative after it, because if we blocking our opponent ideas, we will have some time to develop our plan. So rook c1, knight g4. It seems like Firouzja just putting all his pieces, knight b4, knight g4, bishop f5, bishop e7, maybe rook e8 will come. So he's playing with all the pieces, very active. Bishop f4, not afraid, b takes c5, d takes c5, bishop c5, and castle. And I think it's a brilliant solution by Hikaru Nakamura. He's telling, okay, you know what, you're playing with these two bishops, with these two knights, but I'm not afraid, because I want to remove with a3, and this knight will go away to c6, and this pawn will be weak. I have this file for the rook that will be very weak for you, maybe knight b5, and to attack this pawn on c7 with the rook also. So rook, bishop, and knight. So yeah, it's very interesting to see this position, because Hikaru Nakamura is doing, like, you know, he's sacrificing a pawn in the opening, but he's claiming that white has a very good initiative, and he's totally right. Let's see what Firouzja got in his pocket. So he played the move rook e8, a3, like we understand, just wants to remove this knight from b4, and the pawn on d5 will be attacked. So d4 was played, knight b5, the best move in the position, d3, and now a lot of tactics here, right? Rook takes c5, d takes c2. You can think for a moment in this position. Sorry. So in this position, it was very interesting to see, because d3, you can see in this position that a lot of threats: c7 pawn, bishop on c5, knight on b4, bishop on e2. So much threats, and we need to understand what is going on. If we are playing rook c5, or if we are playing a takes b4, or if we are playing bishop d1, just going back with this bishop from e2 to d1, and claiming that white has so much threats here that it will be not so easy to handle by black. So for example, rook e2, some crazy move, bishop takes e2, d takes e2, queen e2, bishop d3. I think like just queen d2, bishop takes f1, and just king f1. Yeah, it's not good. Maybe rook c5, bishop b5, a takes b4. I don't know, it seems like a really George position. Takes, c6, knight d4, rook d8. Oh, sorry, rook d8, bishop c3. Yeah, it's interesting line. I'm not sure about it. Also here, maybe knight c7. So much tactics here, because queen takes d2, bishop d2, knight d3. I can just take this bishop here. Takes here, bishop here, knight c7. White has pawn up, but of course maybe some some draws position after 95. This. Yeah, it's not so easy to understand what is going on. A lot of tactics here. But Rook c5 was played by Hikaru Nakamura. Of course, other move like Knight c7, it's of course very bad. I think just d takes e2. This bishop was taking, and also the rook on f1 is under attack. Of course, a takes b4 also not makes sense because of rook takes e2 and bishop f2. And it seems like a game over. And also knight f2, of course. Rook c5 was played, d takes e2, and now rook e1, knight d3, rook f5. Yeah, it's understandable, of course. Rook takes f5, knight takes e1, and maybe this was the problem for Alireza Firouzja. Only 32 minutes on the clock for Firouzja, and he has only 19 moves to play, right? Until we got the 40 moves and, of course, the increment. So in this position, Firouzja did a very big mistake. He just could have played the move Queen d7. Very strong move. Of course, the attacking also the rook, also the knight on b5, and of course, the knight on e1, the rook on e1 is also under attack. For example, I just want to show you rook g5, for example, is one move, but rook a d8, very strong, just bringing the rook to the game, and you know, you are attacking here with all the power. Of course, rook e2 is bad because of taking, and the bishop on f4 is under attack, and queen d1 will follow, so this king is in danger. So in this position, queen d7 was like a quiet move that attacking also the rook on f5, also the knight on b5, and also giving the opportunity to bring the rook from a8 to d8. So it's very logical. So let's see what was in the game. Rook takes f5, knight takes c1, and just knight takes c1. This was the solution by Hikaru Nakamura. And now bishop and a knight for a rook, and the pawns are one pawn for black. So not an easy position to understand, but of course we can feel that white is better, of course. Rook d1, f3, knight e3, knight c7, rook e7, rook c5, f6, bishop b4, king f7, h4 was played, h5, king f2, rook b1, knight d5, knight d1, king g3. This is a game over, but of course it's not an easy to understand how. Knight d3 was played, the best move. Firouzja with 2 minutes on the clock for 7 moves. Unbelievable situation. It is not was the only time that Firouzja came to so strong and heavily time trouble, right? So rook e8, bishop e1 was played. Maybe this was not the best solution. I think rook c7 will just remove, you know, like remove the king from here, probably to go to g8, because king e6 feels like it's a game over somehow. Knight here, and knight here, and this is a threat of a game over. I think just takes and h5, and you know, it's a game over. Oh, you have some beautiful line, for example, knight b2, knight g7, king g6, knight f4, king h7, just, you know, king h6 is just game over, checkmate. So yeah, bishop e1 was played. I'm not sure about this move because, okay, Hikaru, I understand this move because after bishop e1, you know, everything is fine. You don't have to worry about some knight b2 and e1 queen. But for example, rook c7, king g8, and now rook c2, it seems like this pawn on b2 is totally safe. And you know, knight f5, f4, bishop e1, and this knight cannot go anywhere, not to e3, not to b2, not to f2, and this rook also feels like in trouble. So yeah, bishop e1 was played, knight takes b2, rook b5. This was the idea of Hikaru, but rook d1 was played by Firouzja. Very strong move, and the idea is that after knight takes b2, we can take this bishop on e1, and if rook takes b2, so rook takes d3. Let's see what happened. Rook takes b2, rook d3, and rook b7 check, king f8. And now knight f4. Of course, don't forget that also Hikaru Nakamura don't have in this position so much time. Only 4 minutes for 3 moves. So the move was played. Rook takes a3. Of course, after bishop b4, king g8, there is no possibility to take the a3 rook because of queen, and black is winning. So king f2 was played, a5, rook a7, rook a4. It seems like in this position black is already defined, because we can see here that there is like 2 pawns for this bishop and a knight against the rook, and you know, the white pieces are not so much active. The bishop on e1 needs to protect this pawn. The knight on f4 needs to see and to look on this pawn on e2. So yeah, it's not so easy. And of course, this very good rook, the black rook, and this rook strong enough to have the possibility to continue attacking here. So g3 was played, g5 takes, knight takes h5. Oh, sorry, what I did now, sorry. So in this position, g5 was the mistake. I think something around just rook a1 or rook a3 maybe, and after knight takes h5, just to play rook e5, or maybe immediately rook e3. What do you think about this one? Just wants to take this one. What about, yeah, rook a5 don't work. Rook a5 just take, I think. No? I can take here, and take here. No, so what? Oh, I take this one. Yeah, but this should be a draw, right? I think rook e3, yeah. Maybe just rook a1 also, knight h5, and now rook e3. Or rook b8 or c8. I just want to bring this here. Knight f4, rook b1, knight to g2, and a4. And continue here. You know, the white pieces are really bad in this position. You know, very passive. This bishop, this knight, you cannot go anywhere. So yeah, it's maybe close to a draw, but you know, I'm not sure about everything in this extremely, you know, difficult situation to handle. And Firouzja in the 41 move played this move g5. You understand? He played so strong in the time trouble, but when he has the time, when he got the 40 minutes back, or no, sorry, 30 minutes increment, he thought like 5 minutes and played this just losing move. H takes g5, f takes g5, knight takes h5, and g4, and this knight on h5 brilliantly located. King e8, knight g7, knight f5, check, knight c4, take on a5 just immediately, knight takes a5, and now king e3, and Firouzja resigned the game. Why he resigned the game? This is a good question, but just bishop d2 and king takes e2, and the game is over, totally over. And you know, white is winning. Hikaru Nakamura with the white pieces against the French of Alireza Firouzja. So, you know, after e takes d5, you know, I really like to play e takes d5 in the third move in the French. And yeah, Hikaru Nakamura also is playing it after he saw that Yanni Pomnishi also played against Pragananda. Both of the games were French, and this game was totally about time clock. You know, the time trouble, the end game, a lot of tactics in the middle game. So congratulations, Hikaru Nakamura, for playing this extraordinary game, and you are coming to the leaderboard with 7.5 out of 12. Brilliant game by Hikaru Nakamura. Let's see the third game. You know, in this round, I'm not sure who I will put in the top laner. You know, Gukesh, maybe Abbasov, maybe Fabiano Caruana, and maybe Hikaru Nakamura. I don't know anything, but let's see who has the most, you know, like interesting game. So let's see, Abbasov against Gukesh. This is the opening. Okay, this is the Nimzo, of course, with the black pieces. H6. Unbelievable move. What is this move? Gukesh, H6? You are with us. Gukesh, what is going on? Gukesh, H6. What is this preparation? Unbelievable move, I think, by Gukesh. After 3 minutes, Abasov is playing the move knight to f3. Gukesh c5 immediately. D takes c5 after 9 minutes of thought. Nijat Abasov is playing D takes c5, knight a6 immediately. Another 3 minutes of thought. G3 was played. Knight takes c5, bishop g2, and knight c4. You can imagine that Gukesh is just playing with his hand. Unbelievable. To see such impressive preparation in the opening. Castle, knight c3, takes, and bishop c5. Until now, 10 moves. Gukesh thought like 1 minute. You can imagine what will follow. e4 by Abasov is playing it very fast. Wants to push e5. Rook d1, bishop f4, and rook on a8 is bad. Bishop on c8 is bad. Only this bishop seems to be good, but okay, white has double pawns here, but rook b1, rook d1, e5, bishop f4, knight d2, knight e4, knight d6. This strong bishop on this diagonal. What Gukesh is doing? Maybe he will lose it very fast. Knight h7! Wow! Gukesh, what you're doing? And this is a prep. You understand, Gukesh, you are unbelievable. Let's see what is going on. e5 by Abasov, rook b8, and until now, Gukesh is on his prep. You understand? You can believe it. You can believe it. Cannot believe it. Okay, rook b8. Unbelievable preparation by Gukesh with the black pieces against Abasov. Already half an hour up by the clock. Perfect. Knight d2. So rook b8, I think the idea of rook b8 is just to play b6 and bishop b7, or maybe bishop a6. And of course now b6 will follow by knight d4 or knight g5, or some to put the knight and to open this diagonal for the bishop. So rook b8 makes sense. Knight d2 was played. White wants to put the knight on e4 to maybe bring it to d6. Black is playing b6 immediately. When Gukesh, remove his prep, when he will don't know what to do. Unbelievable. Knight e4, bishop b7. Until now, this is the prep. 14 moves into the game, and it's not, it's not a theory. You must understand. h4 by Abasov makes a lot of sense. Just wants to block this knight from bringing his to the game by knight g5, for example. Queen c7, rook d1 was played, and it seems like queen c7. This is the first move of Gukesh in this round. Until now, he just play from the prep, like we can say that he's just playing as computer, because this is the prep. So queen c7, 15 moves, 15 minutes of thoughts. Rook d1 was played. I thought like maybe knight c5, maybe bishop f4 makes a lot of sense. For example, let's see bishop f4. I think maybe g5. G5 it's really beautiful one. H takes g5, for example. I think just h takes, or maybe bishop e4. No, I can take this. Bishop takes, h takes. So queen takes, h takes, bishop e3. So maybe I cannot. Maybe I just can take this like this. Knight d6 check. King here. Or maybe on e7 to bring in this one. Knight b7, just take on e4, and black is just winning. The attack is massive here. So knight b5 maybe. Queen c8. Maybe coming back. I don't know. It's very complicated. Maybe bishop takes d6. E takes king f8. It seems like black is better. I like the black's position. The king is really safe here. And this one, queen c6. This pawn is weak. F6, e5. This knight will come to g5 maybe. Yeah, it seems like black is totally fine here. But let's see. Rook d1 was played by Abasov, not to play bishop f4. Bishop takes c4, queen takes, and castle. And just claiming that my bishop on c5 is very, very strong. And these pawns are bad. and weak. So I will do it. I will win it. Let's see. Bishop f4, rook fd8, rook d2, knight f8, and as you can see, the time situation on the clock already is even between both of them. 1 hour for both of them. h5 was played, b5, c takes b5, rook takes b5. Gukesh understand that he must bring his pieces into the game. Rook db8, rook b2, to develop some initiative. Maybe rook to b2 and to attack on f2. The white pawns are very weak. The c3 pawn maybe will be weak in the next future. So bishop f1 was played, rook b6, rook a d1 makes a lot of sense, rook db8, and is claiming that this knight is doing a great job, also protecting from h7, right? From, for example, bishop d3, queen h7, it's blocked because of this knight on f8, and also is defending this pawn on d7. So brilliant to understand that this knight on f8 is just a very critical piece in this game. a4, rook b3, and wants to take some pawns here. Rook d3, rook a3, maybe wants to bring the other rook to b3 or to b2. Rook f3 was played, queen c6, also another very strong move. You understand that he don't want to let bishop takes h6, for example, g takes h6, queen g4 check, and rook f7, right? Because, for example, rook b2, I think bishop h6 is already a threat. Maybe bishop c1 also here, sorry. So, for example, rook here, I think just bishop takes h6, g takes, queen g4 check, king h8, and rook f7, and queen e5 here. Maybe rook f6. Oh no, I also can take. Maybe queen f4. Maybe queen f4. Or maybe this is the move. Queen takes h6 and queen takes f7. But also this one, maybe. You know, I'm not sure about this position. I'm really not sure. Take, queen g4, less. Maybe queen f4, maybe bishop somehow. But you know, this king is very in danger in this position. Maybe bishop d3 somehow with rook f6. Yeah, it's not so easy to understand. Maybe queen f4, f5 takes. Yeah, it's a little bit scary for me, at least. King g8, for example, I will play rook takes f5, bishop c4, some attacking here, rook takes d7, a lot of threats here. So queen c6, the best move in the position. Gukesh understanding that he wants to go to an endgame because his pieces are very good located. Rook on a3, rook will come to b2 or b3. This knight on f8 is doing a great job. So just removing the queens from the game, and it's already an endgame to win it. So the pawns are on c3, a4, e5, weak. The bishop on f4 is not so good for white. So let's see what happened. Rook fd3 takes the a pawn. Bishop g2, rook a2, rook d2, takes, rook c8, bishop e4, a5, bishop c2, g5, takes, king g2, bishop h6, of course, and knight takes e5. This is the idea. And after bishop takes g6, f takes g6, and now bishop h6, I just want to put a3, rook b2, rook b8, sorry, rook b2, and this pawn on a3 will become, I think, into a queen very soon, and I think in this position it's very close to a game over. But in this position, sorry, yes, bishop g2, yes, we saw this one. Yeah, bishop c2 was played, g5 takes, and king g2, and king g7, quiet move. You have time. 6 moves for 5 minutes for Abasov and 7.5 minutes for Gukesh. Bishop a4, knight e7, wants to bring this knight to d5 or to f5, d4. After c4, rook b8 was played. Yeah, this knight is also doing a very strong and important thing to defend this pawn on c6. Rook a2, bishop b4, king f3, rook d8, bishop e3, rook d3, coming into the active position. King e2, rook c3, c5, knight d5, rook c2, and this is just a game over. Takes, and a4, brilliant move. Of course, after bishop a takes a4, knight c3, and taking this bishop on a4. So he played the move king d3, a3, bishop b3, king g6, bishop d4, king g5, king c4, bishop e1, king d3, king g4. And of course, in this position, it's only matter of time until black will win this game. Bishop takes g3 and h5, and this pawn will come to a queen very soon. Gukesh with the black pieces with unbelievable performance in the opening preparation. You know, like such preparation with the black pieces, it just you know, like it's something history. I think you know, this knight h7, rook b8. Wow. Maybe we are seeing now the next world champion. It's unbelievable performance by Gukesh and his team. So congratulations. And let's see the last game of the round 12. Come on. With the white pieces, Fabiano Caruana against the Indian player Vidit. Okay, so e4, e5, 93, 96, bishop c4, bishop c5, the Italian game, and he's doing it. c3, a6, a4, bishop a7, as we already know, knight bd2 was played by Fabiano. Castle, h3, this is all very known in this position in the Italian. They are playing fast. Rook e1, knight g6, a5, c6, bishop b3, quiet move. You know, don't want to let d5 with the tempo. Rook e8, preparing to play d5, d4. With Fabiano Caruana is playing into the center, but d5 was played by Vidit. And now very interesting lines are coming in. D takes e5, knight takes e5, takes, e takes d5, rook takes c1, queen takes, and knight takes d5. And in this position, you know, when I saw this in the live broadcast, I thought like, oh, it's you know, very good chances to win for Fabiano Caruana, because you know, in the point of view of the end games, these pawns will be weak, and you know, some good squares for the knight, for the white knight. So, and the bishop on b3 is very strong. Bishop c2 was played, bishop e6, and knight f3. And the point is just knight g5, knight e5, bishop g5, rook d1, maybe queen e4, queen h4. Some very good plans here for white. So queen d7, c4 was played by white, knight e7, and bishop e3. You're understanding that this bishop on a7 is the only good piece by black. So let's just remove it from the board. Bishop takes e3, queen takes e3, and rook d8. Of course, bishop c4 is just losing on a spot. Queen e4, I think, here, and it's a game over. Also, knight e5 makes a lot of sense for me. And after this queen e4 with queen h7, and also this bishop on c4 is under attack. Yeah, so we played the move rook d8, queen c5. You see these black squares. Feels like something went wrong for Vidit. h6, b3, very quiet moves from Fabiano Caruana. Queen c7, rook e1, bring the last piece into the game with the threat of rook knight d4. I think king f8, rook e3. Now just after knight d4, bishop c8, and this knight is covered by the king. So he played the move rook e3, just developing another piece. King e8, queen h5, bringing the queen to the h file. And now the threat, of course, is to play rook takes e6. So king f8, queen c5, king e8, and g4. Very strong move by Fabiano. I really want to mention this one. You know, in chess game, we don't need to afraid to open a little bit our king. The king will come to g2. We don't have something to worry about. The black pieces are not developed and not afraid from them at all. So yeah, we just need to play good moves and improving our position of the pieces. So king g2, improvement of position for the king. Rook d7, rook e4, queen d6, and now queen e3. You see all the black pieces are here together like one piece. So c5, rook e5, knight c6, and just rook d5 and taking the pawn. White is totally winning here. Vidit with 5 minutes on the clock, and it seems like he don't like the pressure on the time on the clock. So rook e7, queen c3 was played, queen d6, just rook h5. I think b4 was much more stronger than just to develop this pawn. Maybe bishop a4 in the next move, knight e5, and also protect this rook on c5. But he played rook h5, f6, bishop g6, check, king d8, queen e3. It seems like Fabiano also in the time situation also have some mistakes. For example, here bishop g4 is not working, I think, just because of queen b6 intermediate check and take this bishop. So king c8, queen b6 check, and no check, of course. The king was already on c8, king b8. Vidit is coming with the king from g8 to b8. Rook c5, bishop d7, b4, queen f4, bishop f5 with a lot of time. 43 minutes on already has the increment. Takes, queen c7, queen c5, rook e4, queen d5, rook e2, b5, takes, knight d4, rook b2, b takes a6, knight c6, because this knight is on threat here from this queen and also from this rook. So knight c6, queen g8, knight d8, and rook d5, king a7, and just taking the rook, the knight, of course, with the rook on d8, and black resigned the game with half a minute. Vidit is pushing his hand and giving Fabiano Caruana the win of this game. Fabiano Caruana is managing to bringing all his power till the end of the tournament. He's winning after winning after winning after a very bad loss by the black pieces, with the black pieces against Hikaru Nakamura. He's achieved here, I think, 3 times in a row, 3 or maybe 2 until now, winning with the white pieces, with the black pieces. He's just crushing everyone. He's going forward. So unbelievable performance by Fabiano Caruana, and he's giving up him the motivation to maybe he will be our champion of the candidates 2024. Maybe he will achieve the wild card, to the world championship match against Ding Liren. Unbelievable performance by Fabiano Caruana, and let's see what he will be in the last 2 rounds of the tournament. Unbelievable situation. I think we have Gukesh, Yanni Pomnishi, and Hikaru Nakamura with 7.5 points out of 12, and Fabiano Caruana with 7. So everything can hurt us. So we don't know what we will do and who will win these candidates 2024. So be here, not going anywhere. We have 2 more rounds left. So thank you very much for watching. I really welcome you to subscribe my channel, like the videos, and of course tell me, share to your friends, to your team, to your family, and comment your thoughts, ideas, what do you want from me. I will do my best. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.